So glad you're all here, and I'm very excited to be working on helping us learn about what calling is. There's so many different cultural things with outrigger, and I have to just own that I'm very much a Northwest peddler, and I haven't done a ton of learning with more traditional clubs. So there's a ton of this stuff that I don't know yet, but I'm giving you the information I've learned, and I hope to keep learning over many years to come. So this is going to be your very first immersion experience in what it means to be the caller of the boat. And so today we are going to cover a ton of information, but I guarantee you that you will not know how to be a caller until you do this over and over and over again for years. So for today, we're going to look at some of the common dynamics that a caller is navigating on the boat. We're going to look at what the jobs and the roles of caller are. We'll get into a little bit of what the common calls are, at least for our club. And again, the common calls are going to change depending on who you're paddling with and where you are in the country or in the world. We will talk about some of the techniques you might use as a caller, and then we will be able to do some practice. I have found some beautiful videos that model some of the scenarios you might run into, and this will give you a chance to just start using your voice and practicing the things that we just talked about.
Hi, I'm Jim.
So just so that we're all on the same page, this is an incredibly complex role on the boat. Your jobs are diverse and many, and I think after this training you will be like, oh my god, I'm supposed to do so many things and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do them all. So I would like us all to have a little bit of grace with ourselves, a little bit of patience, and know that you are just going to jump into this and try things out. Be daring. Is that okay? Can we all agree to that?
Yeah.
So, sorry, that's a little out of focus. It's out of focus all the time. Is that okay?
Yeah, I can read it.
I don't even know what's best. Is that okay with you? All right. So I think one of the things to just be explicit about is that our job as a caller pretty much navigates this dynamic throughout any practice or any race. We have 6 people on that crew. And at any given time, they are going to be in their own mind and in their own body, paddling as 6 individuals. And then they will form as a team and be paddling for a mutual goal or purpose. And then they will go back into our individual selves. And then we will go back into a cohesive group. And so the first thing that we become aware of is noticing when those things are happening. As a caller, you also are going to be going through this phase. So at any given time on the boat, you're going to be like, God, my back hurts. God, my back hurts. God, oh shit, I have to be doing something. What is this boat feeling, right? Oh, now I'm really cued into everybody else. Oh, but I'm really starting to gel into my own stroke. This is so good. Oh my God. Oh, wait, other people, right? So that's one of the challenges that we have as callers is how to get ourselves back into our boat. And how do we actually feel it? So our calling experience also changes given the expertise level of our crew. Wasabi is a very, I would say, novice club. We've been predominantly dragon boaters, and so we are pretty brand new to the sport of outrigger. That means what you're going to hear on our boats is going to be a lot more calling, a lot more direction, because everybody's learning so many parts of this sport. What is very different is when we start to watch these videos, you're going to notice how silent those boats are. They don't say anything. And so what happens is that when you move into an intermediate crew, people are going to start knowing what to do. And that's an actually really, really wonderful thing. It means that you can stop talking and paddle harder. That means everybody else has a sense of what they're supposed to be doing on that boat. What can happen at the intermediate level, though, is that people get overconfident. This is when you start to see that some of your paddlers think they know it. And maybe it's a little bit harder for them to take your feedback.
too.
So I've actually been talking to some of the people, i.e. my partner, who is an advanced to intermediate level paddler, and sometimes they struggle a little bit with like, oh, somebody said something on the boat that I'm just like, I can do that. I know how to do that. They're giving a call that's more about them than it is about me. And that's their struggle, is how to trust their call. So that's a new dynamic that you get to navigate, is that pushback from your paddlers. And then if you're ever racing with a seasoned crew, and I've only done this maybe once in my life, everybody knows what they're doing. And everybody's really good at what they're doing. So most of the calls are just little like correction calls to help that group become one just a little bit more. And you'll often hear seasoned crews do more push calls rather than motivation calls because they already know how to motivate themselves through an endurance sport. And these folks generally are the toughest to give feedback to. So if you're seeing somebody do a funky stroke thing, they're going to be the maddest at you if you say it out.
What do you do every night?
Unless they have a lot of
So
grace.
what do you do? Don't say it, or?
Well, if you were on a seasoned crew, I would hope that you have a really good coach who can give that feedback. And sometimes as a caller, you just become more strategic about talking to the coach who gives that feedback. I think there's also a lot to be said about cultivating the alliances on your boat. As a caller, you should be learning how to connect with every person on that boat so that you can know how people need feedback and then give it in a more strategic way. So that also like runs into that like you're almost a coach kind of person. So there's definitely a lot of dynamics in your callers. Really start listening to how I'm talking about the techniques for practicing. If you hear me say top arm push or sticky through the water, I want you to start using that as your call. Sticky through the water. That means everybody knows what that means. And so you can start being strategic about like helping us all paddle in a similar technique. One of the things that's interesting about that is that a coach's coaching changes over time. And this is something that I've seen on our dragon boating is that there are certain callers who are still using calls that were things that Carol and Brent taught us 2 years ago. Like, pick that pocket, right? I don't know if you've heard that call recently on the dragon boat, but somebody's saying pick that pocket, and we don't really practice like that, picking that pocket anymore. We haven't heard our coaches say that to us. So as a caller, you also need to stay relevant and don't get stuck in your own comfortable calls involved with your crew. So practice calling, you're going to probably call a little bit more. You're going to have calls that are more connected to drills or things that the coach is having the boat do. In a race, you're going to be calling much less. You are supposed to be using your lungs to paddle, and so the more you speak on the boat, the more everybody else is like, are you seriously working that hard? So minimizing calls to things that are really strategic and choosing your battles. And I think the most important thing in race calling is everything has to be positive. Critical calls do not work. It brings a boat down, it gets everybody into their head, it gets them into being angry at you, and it makes the boat slow. So we'll be looking at how the calls are worded so that it's all positive based. And then one thing that I definitely felt in this last race was how I can find 30% more power in my body in a race than when I have in practice. And I'm like, where does that energy even come from? I have no idea how that happens. But your crew is gonna be working hard, so I rarely call power in a race. They're already powered. And so we'll be looking at some other strategic things to call that aren't gonna just like make everybody disgruntled. Cool. Any questions so far?
I'm not coordinating, I'm coordinating.
I just, for calling thing, it's pretty new for this book,
Yeah.
or for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Used to doing that, period. How do you introduce that as a concept to your group?
Well, who in this crew has called a race? All right, we've got 4. Who in this crew has called
You mean
3 or more?
everywhere?
Yeah, an outward race. How many people? Okay. How many people have called 3 or more practices? Right. So we're in that perfect position of like only about half to quarter of our people here know about calling, and this is how I'm introducing it. I
Okay.
am teaching you everything that I know.
It's hard enough just for count to 15.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
If I add on to that, Annie, I think that if you're talking about this group, now to introduce something from Northern Join, and if you're thinking about that's separate, I would say introduce it to that group, and if you're getting some benefit.
Well, that's what I was thinking, that it would be like us to share the knowledge and say, do we want to practice this? You know, it's the group. I'm sure we will, but it's just when, well, we call anyway, but
yeah.
this is more like
Official?
official.
Yeah, and I
the official stamp.
Yeah.
I think that's a great thing to mention about our club specifically, that we have both a coached program, but we also have crews that paddle independently and by themselves. And many times in those crews that paddle by themselves, how much of this knowledge is available, right? So I hope that this is an enticement, like this is a cookie of, oh my God, did you know there's so much to learn and more things to like develop in. And so I'm always available to like,
Well, that's how I was hoping to be,
yeah,
a little bit more, in a more structured way.
yeah. Yeah, so either like take this and share it with your people, or if you want me to do this again, actually I'm videoing it, so they can always watch it. Yeah. All right. Okay, let's talk about having 6 people together, and let's talk about having 6 competitive people together. What a dynamic. And then let's add that extra layer of stressing them all out by making them very tired. All of our interpersonal skills like become very, very compromised when we are all tired. So in those moments, everybody's needs become much more acute and things bug people more. So you're gonna find that some people are like, do not say a word on this phone. I need to be in my head, I need to focus, I need to zen. And then there's gonna be other people like, you didn't talk for 5 seconds, what's wrong? I don't know how to paddle when you're not talking. And then there's people like way in between of all of that. Some people want an aggressive, growly voice, and other people are like, be nice to me, right? So as a caller, that's a very hard thing to navigate. And it takes a lot of just you owning some space. Like, I think one of the better ways to become a new caller is to just be like, I am your caller. Don't ask. Don't get all worried. Go in with confidence. And then once you've established a bit of that power, then you can ask for some feedback. Because we are training our benches. And you all are paddlers, so you all are, I'm talking to you too. You need to respect whoever is in that caller seat. All paddlers do. They are learning, we are all learning, but we also need to give that respect. One of the things that I run into, this is my hardest one, is that when I'm in the caller seat, I'm also experiencing the exhaustion of paddle. I'm also thinking about my stroke. I'm also feeling my body. I'm also feeling the water on my blade. And so my calls can become very me focused. I'm working on this plant. I might call a call that says plant, but maybe Alexis is like just working on her swing, right? So sometimes our calls are out of step with our boat, and it's important to check in with yourself of like, why am I making this call? Is it because I'm feeling this? Is it because I'm tired? Is it because I'm grumpy?
Important things.
And that can definitely change how your boat feels. So I think the thing to majorly take away from this is bring all this information into your head and then just start experimenting. Practice a lot of this. Allow yourself the chance to make mistakes and to start being really attentive to what happens on your boat when you do stuff. That's probably the best way that we learn how to call is be like, this call made that boat fast. This call made everybody out of steam. This call did da-da-da, right? And that's going to help you learn your boat. Cool? Awesome. Okay. So what is our job? I think you're getting a feel for it already, hopefully. But one of our primary jobs is to listen and feel. This is probably going to be your biggest learning curve, is to go from feeling in here to feeling out here, right? And we will get into what you are feeling and listening to. Your job is to motivate people. Your job is to keep the timing. Your job is to increase the boat speed. Your job is also to know race strategy. And your job is to provide corrections to your club, to your group. Okay? Yeah.
If there's 6 positions in boat, where is that position?
Callers are in seat 4 in our club.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. Seat 3 is our hut-ho caller. And we separate out the job of hut-ho from this dynamic job because that's a lot of stuff to think about. And most callers who are trying to call hut-hos don't stay consistent with their times. It is hard to count to 15 and paddle and stay
over
in.
again.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. So let's delve in.
So are there other boats that do combine?
I think so.
Yeah.
I've been trying to locate the colors in these videos, and I can't quite see their mouths moving, so I'm not sure which person's calling. But yeah, there have been clubs that I've worked with where seat 3 was doing most of the work. There's also clubs that I think use their steers person much more to be a caller and a motivator. And it could happen that like people who paddle in much larger water, their steers person becomes more of a caller because it's more of a safety call. Like I need this boat to stay upright calls. So that could be a change. All right. So in this room, has anybody intentionally spent some practices like just feeling how our boats move and put your attention into that? I'm sure Carol has never done that. Yeah. Okay, good. So there are some people who are starting to become aware of this boat underneath us and around us. So one of the best ways to become aware of your boat is through your butt. That seat is your direct contact to how a boat moves. And it's difficult when you're in line with the boat and in sync with the boat to feel any sort of jerkiness with that. But if you are out of time with the boat, or if somebody is out of time in that boat, you're going to feel it. There's going to be this like little jerk that happens in your butt. So the other places that you can feel is that water movement past your leg. There's ways that you can feel like this huge swirl of water. If somebody's doing some really interesting movement with their body, you're going to get this like ball of water. And sometimes it's really hard to find the water with your blade in it. You can also feel, oh my gosh, I don't know if any of you have been out when the water was low. And right down Ross Island on the left-hand side, there's this shallow area, the sandbar. Like if you go over that, everything just stops. You're like trying to pull mud with your blade, right? So you felt that. And then you can feel these things where you turn and you come downriver, and you just like, and the water moves past your blade so much faster, right? So those are things to pay attention to. And sometimes you can make a strategic call based on that view. Can you see that when I move around?
Yeah.
One of the more nuanced experiences that you should become aware of is what is that called when it goes back and forth in some way or another?